was the idea, the great story you tell in the book about World War and German rubber and UK spectacles. It's just
binoculars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just to finish that glass kind of section.
Yeah, it's an amazing story. We were, and there's various ways you can tell this. You could do kind of like an industrial strategy story as well. We, for a long period, were really in the UK, in England really, we're a big manufacturer of glass. And then, as often happens, the government saw that and they thought, okay, well, they're making lots of money, let's tax them. And so they imposed lots of taxes. And partly as a result of that, remember the window tax? So part of the reason you have all these kind of windows that have been bricked up in old houses is because there was a window tax, and that would partly tax the household. But there were also lots of taxes on the actual glass itself. So you had duties on glass, which basically meant that the industry in this country stopped doing research and development. And we're talking about kind of in 1800s here. So it's the early research and development, inventing the first lenses, working out different kind of recipes for glass. And part of the upshot of that is a lot of the glass R&D began to happen in Germany. And it wasn't just because of that. I mean, Germany was beginning as an industrial powerhouse to do R&D as we know it today. And that you can see that in their chemicals sector as well. So things were happening in Germany, but we kind of let our glass industry go to the extent that come 1914, 60% of all of the binoculars, the kind of optical glass in the UK was being imported from Germany.
Yeah.
And then the war happens. And suddenly people in Britain are like, well, oh gosh, this is awkward, isn't it? Because we're sending our troops off to the trenches and they don't have binoculars. And the Germans have snipers. And this is, this first real war of sniper fire and artillery fire, where you could fire your weapons far further than you could see. So lenses were all important in the same way that people talk about drones these days and silicon warfare. It was optical warfare that really mattered back then, which is silicon. It's another form of silicon technology. And the UK was 60% reliance on Germany for its lenses. And I think about 20% of the rest was France, and then 20% came from the UK. So France needed all it could get. So basically, we were in big trouble. There was a glass famine, as it became known, where campaigns were launched for people to donate any pairs of binoculars they had. You had the King and the Queen donating 4 pairs of opera glasses and glasses they would take to the races, to the troops to go out to the trenches. Yeah. And yet it still wasn't enough, which culminated, and it felt pretty disastrous and very dangerous in the early years. It culminated in 1915, this crazy moment where the Ministry of Munitions sent a spy to Switzerland to meet with the Germans to buy binoculars off the Germans to kill them. And the crazier thing than that is it actually happened. And it happened because the Germans needed rubber. And we had a stranglehold on the global supply of rubber through colonies in the Far East. And so you have this kind of, crazy moment where the two nations fighting it out would rather trade these important materials with each other than kind of stop the war. And I suppose the other side of that story is that in the longer run, we did actually manage to sort things out. So we did actually manage to rebuild our industry, which to me is in a way even more interesting than the spy story, although it's not quite as sexy. It shows that you can do it. You can do it, even if it looks like you've completely deindustrialized. You can rebuild stuff. You can get those skills back. It's hard. Sometimes it takes a war to do it, or a pandemic. That's the other great example recently. We built up a massive kind of supply chain for making vaccines. You can do it. It's just that often we don't seem to have the kind of gumption or the willpower to actually make it happen.